October 17, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. Just continuing from yesterday, there was this big, pretty much it dropped 100 points in the pre-market. Then it recovered it all back, all in the pre-market. So this is kind of where it opened. Yeah, after hours, which is technically yesterday, dropped, bounced all the way back up, recovered it, and then it opened. Then on the open, it kind of just chopped sideways with a bullish bias, then chopped sideways down, then bounced up, sold off, bounced. So it almost looks like it's three legs. One leg, pull back, second leg, pull back, third leg. And I really couldn't get any big channels to fit correctly, so I didn't even, well, I tried, but I didn't really get any big channels to fit correctly through all this. So it just, you couldn't really use them as key entry points. Even if you had came up with something like this, by the time you could discover something like this, you already knew the bias was bullish so this really didn't even help. And plus, if you did have this like I did, how much can you really trust uh, this bounce here, especially if you're only going for a couple of points and your stop loss is at most maybe a few points. It could easily, just push through. So these big channels just kind of give you an idea where the market's going, but they don't really act too well as key entry points, the support or resistance. I managed to take one trade today, which is right here and was profitable. And there was no economic data because the government's still shut down, so there's nothing really to announce. And also, I think Trump had a press conference, but it didn't really, it might have been really choppy right here, as I remember, but nothing really came of it. So go through the trades right now. Okay, the pre-market, as I said, was just this big, big sell-off, 100 points, almost 100 points. Hit the bottom, bounced two times, pushed up, broke, moved sideways, pushed up again, kind of pretty much as you can see where this blue dotted line is, retested the highs. So this is almost like it canceled itself out, which is kind of amazing. So this is kind of a leftover of a trend line, this blue one, and then this red one, but I couldn't really get it to fit as a channel, but they might have been something as a potential support or bounce off point. But for me, I didn't really see any trades. So right before the open, it starts selling off in the sideways movement, which looks like it's moving down this orange down channel. There's a localized low here. It goes a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. There's second entry short here. It could be a break of this orange down channel and it's moving prices back in, but this down channel, it fit pretty nicely. Looks like it was two legs up. I didn't really, I saw this. EMA may or may not be in play, and I was looking for a lower high, which never showed up. So it became an almost trade. It could be an actual trade well, for me, it's not an actual trade because I haven't seen this enough time to get an idea or grasp of what's going to happen. A more aggressive trader might have taken this, but for me, I consider it an almost trade, a little more conservative that way. And prices kind of move up. There's a second entry long here, but it's a bad signal bar, and it's kind of bouncing off the middle of nowhere. Plus, all the previous bars are just kind of sideways. It almost looks like a range congestion. It's a localized high. It's actually the high of day at this time of day. Sells off. Looks like it's a spike in a downward channel. Then it pushes out and kind of moves back in. I didn't really know what to do with this, so I didn't try to look for a setup. But it is new low, first entry short, second entry short, not the best signal bar. Maybe it's bouncing off of this red down channel, which you could have said is maybe like this, but I actually had it tighter and I treated it as a fail breakout, which I think might have created an overshoot on this side, so I left it alone. Pushes, so that's where I drew this red trend line, one touch, two touch. The blue one doesn't exist yet. Looks like it's a spike and a channel, this orange up channel. No second entries here. Hits its new localized, well, new high of day. Sells off, break, tests the low, and it creates what I think is a second entry long, but it's an almost trade as well. So you have this push down on this red down channel. Is this a attempt at the low? It's hard to say. And did it test the low? It's a little ambiguous. So it's a first entry short, potential second entry short, but it's also a new high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. But since there's a possibility it could still test the low of this red down channel, I left it alone because you could argue that might be one touch, two touch, three touch, and it's starting to reverse back up because clearly the market is bullish right here, but it just wasn't a clean enough setup for me. So I actually wanted a higher low above the EMA because this is like a first entry long pullback, second entry long, a little bit far from the EMA. There's enough room. It just didn't really speak to me, so I called it an almost trade. Prices move up, starts moving sideways. This is just congestion. I mean, you could find second entries by the technical count, but it just doesn't look very clean right now. It's not even a clean range because it spends a good deal of time on the high side and then a good deal of time on the low side. So it's not really pushing up and down, and it's just too tight. In other words, the candles themselves are spanning almost the entire range. Prices move up. Again, it's pressing and making new highs. The break of the green up channel, test the high. I'm looking, so now it's coming back down. I'm looking for a bounce off the EMA, like a clean setup, but it pushes through the EMA. So I'm actually thinking, okay, well, could be a correction, not necessarily ready to go short. Pushes, creates a visual first entry long pullback, potential second entry long. The problem with this is since I had this red trend line drawn, which touches pretty well, and I had another red line up here thinking it might be a channel, but it didn't really help out. So I deleted it. Same thing with down here. Start of the blue trend line, touches once, touches twice. So both of these are confirming pretty nicely. They're not good enough to be channels, but they're good enough for trend line support. The problem with this is both of them broke through. So it's a break of this orange down channel, one attempt down pullback, second attempt. I marked it as a second entry long, but since they both broke through, these both this price action broke through both the red and blue support trend lines. I didn't really want to take a trade. I needed to see a higher low. So in this case, it probably would have worked. And if you look, excuse me, if you're going for 2 points, then you probably would have gotten your 2 point scalp right here. But seeing this, if only this red candle had stopped right where these two are, and then this green one formed as it is, I think it would have been a trade. But since it fell short, I had to call an almost trade. And then finally you get a higher low here. By the time it's a confirmed higher low, this one has already pushed up and run away, which kind of tells me like these two red and blue support lines were probably valid. It's just since it broke through, it showed me a sign of weakness, so I had to leave it alone. So this is also an almost trade, but this one's hard to get because you didn't expect a big push up like this because it is still pushing outside this red and blue support lines. Prices move up. You do technically have a second entry short failure, and pushes back down, moves down on this red down channel, then it starts breaking out, but it moves sideways. This is just congestion, ranging, break to the low side, so it's push on the red down channel, break, test the low, starts to reverse up. And at this point, I'm not so sure this red trend line, which would have been a red channel, or this blue trend line, which would have been a blue channel, I'm not so sure prices are going to come back up and test the highs because technically it's not even a channel yet. It's just moving sideways. I'm just watching and waiting. Looks like it's two legs up. First entry long, excuse me, one push up, pull back, second push up. Could be a visual first entry short, second entry short, but these candles are just really large relative to the day and to the ATR for today. Pushes down. Here I drew this as a potential red down channel support. I created it as a transparent channel right now. I haven't colored it in because I don't trust it as a channel yet, but at least the low side support looking pretty good because it has one touch, pretty much two touches here, which is the high side, hits the high side, starts coming back down, kind of confirms two times. So I actually drew it as a transparent channel at this point, but I didn't color it in because it is spanning quite large. Push up on this green up channel, broke, test the high, pull back, attempt one, gets a third touch rejection off of here. I thought there might have been a lower high here. Unfortunately, the lower high would have been this one, but follow through candle is red and it's inside to this. So although visually it looks kind of like you can tell what might be happening, it's hard to take a trade on these candles since the setup is just falling short and the candles are too big. Pushes down and through. Kind of hits the sideways consolidation again. pushes down, creates a second entry long, so it's new high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long. Technically, you have a third entry long, but it looks like it's one leg down, pullback, second leg down. So it is a second entry long. This is actually mislabeled. This should actually be second entry short. Kind of threw me for a loop. So even if you did a visual first entry long, second entry long, it's hard to, I think it's hard to group this right here as another leg because it's clearly a push up. And then, so this would actually be a third entry long. So actually new high, first entry long, second entry long, third entry long. However, you do have a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Second entry short, it's an almost trade just because if you're trying to take a short after the close of this, your concern would be a potential bounce point right here because it looks like some support here. Pushes up and through, hits this, which I turned into a range. Looks like it's just ranging and actually sets up for my first and only trade. It looks like you have a new low. You have a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Second entry short, I think we're in some kind of range, or at least there's some kind of resistance here. I like that it moved up, broke, made a second attempt, stopped short of going way, way too high. So it looks like it's already two legs up and it's coming back down. It creates a lower high confirmation with a nice close at the low. So I thought prices might be coming from possible top of the range. Decent signal bar. I entered one tick. I was going for 2 points because I believe there's enough because it already broke through this support area, which is the first area of concern. And I was thinking it might be enough momentum to come back and test this low. So I entered right here, this little pink triangle. Pushed down, got my 2 point scalp. My stop was actually it was up here. Then when this one opened, got the order filled. I'd reduce my risk by moving my stop here. Pushes down, move my runner from after I got the scalp one tick below my entry, and unfortunately it got stopped out. If it didn't get stopped out, unfortunately, it would have pushed down and did what I thought it was going to do, which is test the low. That's okay. My one and only trade. Pushes down, you have a fail breakout here. First entry short, such a strong push up. I'm very reluctant to look for second entry short now because I'm not thinking of going short necessarily. It's kind of sideways choppy, and it starts actually looking like a spike sideways and then a potential channel. Go ahead and squeeze this down a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. Starts pushing up. You don't really get any clean second entries. You do have a second entry long here, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It didn't really bounce off this red, and I didn't want to try to believe that it did and invent a trade, or invent a setup, so I left this one alone. Plus, this just made a double top, so technically you do a count reset. So it just had a couple of ambiguities, a couple of doubts in the setup that made me just leave it alone. Prices move up. You technically have a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. Unfortunately, there's this inside bar. As a fail breakout on this side, creates a corresponding fail breakout on this side. So I'm thinking this is in a range now. It creates a second entry long triple test. I actually thought this was a possible trade. So it's a push down, break, one attempt down, and then another push up. So it is bouncing off the bottom of what I think is a range support. The signal bar here moved a couple ticks below and then it pushed and engulfed this guy. The thing is, and it's coming from a failed breakout, corresponding failed breakout. The thing is, if you don't take this on the engulfing, I wouldn't take it after the signal bar, after this signal and trigger bar closed, because you're going to run into this potential high side. So if you didn't take it right after it broke here, I would have just left it alone. But it's kind of a hard trade to take. It feels a little aggressive and definitely out of my wheelhouse. And it's a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. It's almost trade because it runs into the same issue. So clearly there is some kind of resistance here that's being respected. You do have enough for a 1 point scalp, but it hasn't proven to me that this couldn't also act as a resistance point. Then prices move up. So it's breaking outside this blue trading range. So I actually extended and created a second one. The bottom of this gray one is actually superimposed on top of here, and I later dragged it down because it looks like it's bouncing much better here. So I actually had it something closer to this. And I thought, okay, maybe the high side's up here because this could also be the range. Looks like it's one leg down, pull back, breaks out, and pushes all the way back in. So the high side looks pretty good right now. Visual, first entry long, pullback, second entry long is kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so it's hard to take this trade. No higher low, pushes down, pushes way, way down below, kind of bounces. That's where later I thought maybe the low of the range is actually somewhere here, but it didn't really matter. What really seemed to matter was the high side, which is getting some resistance. It creates another setup here, so it's a new high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. Second entry long technically has failed here. Also a new low. First entry short, pullback, second entry short. I thought this is a possible trade. So you're not really sure yet, but it also has a key entry point of this EMA acting as another resistance point. I also had this looking like it might be a spike, and I drew this as a temporary trend line. So it looked like it might have almost touched and get rejected. When it confirms here, if you didn't take your, it was also a good signal bar. If you didn't have your order ready, then I wouldn't have taken the trade after it's confirmed and closed here. Prices bounce, kind of move sideways. Now I have more confidence in this trend line coming down as actually being potentially a valid channel. Bounces pretty well here. Unfortunately, these are also really large candles side by side. Let me actually correct this. This actually has moved slightly. I guess something closer to this. There's a new low, first entry short, pull back. Technically, I have a second entry short. I'm not a fan of this doji. It does look like two legs up, so maybe there's a trade here. Unfortunately, there's no body here, so I had to leave it alone. I'm looking for a lower high now. It gives you your lower high. So I actually thought this is an actual trade here, a possible trade. New low, first entry short, second entry short, push up, pull back, engulfs this signal bar, moved a couple ticks up, engulfed it, and closed right at the, well, not at the lows, kind of right at the EMA. Now, keep in mind the EMA isn't really super reliable as a potential bounce point yet because prices were below it previously and was above it previously. So I thought it was a possible trade, but I really wanted a close at the low right here, or at least a close below the EMA, which would help remove all doubt. But it is a possible trade if you're a little more aggressive. Prices move down as orange down channel, break, test the low, starts reversing back up. Creates a second entry long, failed second entry short, localized low. On the technical count, you have a first entry short, pullback. You have a second entry short. Second entry short has failed here. You also have a new high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. The problem with this trade is this orange up channel doesn't really exist yet. So if you did have a trend line, it feels a little aggressive. If the EMA had actually curled up and acted as another key entry point, there might have been a trade here. Also, the thing going against this setup is this is inside bar to this. So something I just had to leave alone. Prices move up. You do get a higher low here, but this higher low is actually coming from a break of the highs already. So you're getting a higher low and pressing for even more highs. So ideally the higher low would be below before it broke to new highs. So although it is technically higher than the other lows, it's not a clean setup. Pushes up, breaks above the present high of day, which was created back there. Potential breakout here. Creates this setup, which I thought was a possible trade. It looks like one leg down, pullback, second leg. Second leg is a little bit larger. I thought there might have been a possible range, and this could have been a failed breakout because it looks like there was some kind of support being respected here. And I also thought maybe it's something like right here, potential failed breakout. I like the bounce off the EMA. There's a failed breakout here, but if you drew it a little more optimistically, there could have been a possible no breakout. So this, okay, cool. Triple test because it could have been, well, when I had it up here, I had a triple test because I saw all the closes and opens line up pretty well. It's like probably one attempt, two attempt, potential third attempt. Trying to click on the right one. Oh, I take that back. I think my triple test is actually right here. One touch, two touch, three touch, potential fail breakout if you had it slightly above. decent signal bar. Excuse me. Pushes up. It's hard to try to get this though. Even if you try to enter after this close, you can tell it just opened and it flushed right up. Pushes and breaks out the high side. Kind of hits a sideways consolidation. Creates a visual first entry long pullback, second entry long. So it's like a visual first entry long, second entry long. Unfortunately, this is inside to this, although it is a bounce off the EMA. Potential bounce off this yellow up channel support. A couple things going for it. I just didn't like it was inside bar. I think at this point I drew this a little bit something like that. Kind of move sideways, new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long triple test. Triple test happens really in quick succession though. It is a break of this potential yellow up channel. It was one attempt up, pullback, second attempt. The concern that I had was I was thinking I'm in this pink trading range. Am I going to have an issue running into this? Clearly it doesn't, pushes up through, then it comes right back down. Kind of like these two sideways bars here, pushes up, another doji. So at this point, see if I get this clicked. So at this point, I wasn't sure if prices are really going to move successfully back into this purple range. It eventually does, but now it's testing the high side. So this looked like a long dwell fail breakout. So I'm thinking there might be another fail breakout on this side, but it flushes up, creates a new high. Break of this yellow up channel has tested the high. You have a new high, first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but it's kind of bouncing off of nothing. I drew this as a placeholder, but it didn't really help at all. This transparent red up channel. It looked like it might have been some support here, maybe some rejection here. Not enough price action to confirm it. Presses down. Break of this green down channel. One attempt up. Second attempt. Maybe it's going to start reversing back down and create a second leg here. Kind of does that. This could be considered a lower high, but also the time of day. This is entering the last 30 minutes. I'm reluctant to try to take anything or make anything happen. It just gets choppy with kind of a trading range that's, well, not really a trading range, but a very shallow sell-off. But it is respecting this support area, so I turned it into a range. But even if I turn it into a range, I don't see anything worth taking or worth risking, because now you're definitely in the last 10 minutes of the day. And as you can see, even in the last 10 minutes, it kind of gets a little bit choppy, respects this support, and pushes into the close. So wasn't too wasn't uh, too volatile toward the end, because I could see it kind of drifted down and stayed for the most part within a 10-point range or 10-point span during the last 30 minutes, but definitely not an area to try to make something happen today. So I didn't see any particular trade that I can point out as being a really good trade of the day. So, but I did take this one trade right here, which worked out and I believed in it. Other than that, it was a high volume day, but the volume didn't really translate to a lot of really fruitful price action, because you get these big legs, but it was just kind of meandering all about. So hopefully that was helpful.